Alright, so preseason's out. New runes are coming here. Uh, I like them. I think that a few could be toned down, a few could be worked with, but here's where I'm gonna stand on both on them right now. Here's what I think you should do with them. This is gonna be a quick recap of all the runes so far and how they work and their general power level. Okay, so we're gonna start with the precision tree. Precision's pretty solid overall. They just have enough power in their kits. A lot of combat stats are coming from these runes, and so it's just straight buffs, and it's very easy to bring AD carries back to that level, or even buff them from where they were from the patch before. Press the attack. It's pretty useful on any AD carry that bursts. You'd probably take this on Lucian as well as Ezreal if Ezreal was not using Kleptomancy right now. It's generally just like, you've got this caster and you need to, give them a little more power. It's pretty useful in team fights because it's 12% extra damage from all sources. Overall, it's pretty nice. Straight ADs though, you're going to want to probably take lethal tempo, like very traditional ADCs. Your Kalista, your Twitch. This is so good at specific points in the game when you just need to be able to kite them as fast as you can, especially on Kalista. Like, the attack speed makes you throw faster, which makes you jump faster, mobility. Overall, makes her just a lot more obnoxious, especially with Vayne 2. Fleet footwork, it's pretty much a Warlord's Bloodlust. It's not as strong, though. I don't know what to say. It could do with being buffed a little, but right now, like, the entire tree is really solid, so I wouldn't even touch it. I would wait till the other trees get buffed up first before looking at this, or maybe nerf this tree first. I think Precision is probably the second strongest tree, and it's just full of really, really useful stats for AD carries. Some bruisers too. I think Jax would really do well with press the attack, especially in team fights, because it does give him some team fight presence, because now he's marking a carry that you can mini Vlad ult, basically. It's really nice. Alright, for heroism, we've got Overheal. I don't think Overheal's that good. For most carries, you're not going to be like building lifesteal. Even on Jax, you just take Titanic and Trinity Force, so you don't really get that lifesteal. Triumph, it's dangerous game on steroids. It's really solid. This is probably what you're going to take in most cases. And then you have Presence of Mind. Presence of Mind, okay, if you're in a bronze game and you get like 40 kills on your side per game, Presence of Mind is going to be good. But in most high elo games, when the meta is settled, there's not going to be more than 20 kills per side. There's half that. And assuming you have 50% kill participation as a carry, you're going to be looking at 17 times you can use this. No, 27 times you can use this during game. And if you're falling behind, it's just going to be less useful. So, whereas Triumph, okay, that's a terrible point to make. Dangerous Game is useful because it allows you to escape Ignite sort of situations where, you have DOT ticking on you. Whereas this is just going to be a lot of extra mana. You don't usually need that mana. This might be good on Kassadin, but that's the only thing. Legend, all pretty solid stats. This would probably be what you'd use on Bruisers, if anything. I don't think Bruisers have really good runes right now, but if they do have one, it's this one. Bloodline is pretty solid. If you're playing an AD carry who doesn't run lifesteal in their build, you're gonna probably want to take this. It's 8% lifesteal, so about a Vamp Scepter, versus 18% attack speed. Like, if you're playing Caitlyn, I'd say get Bloodline so that you can run lethal tempo. And because you're gonna have that rapid fire cannon, that Shiv, you're gonna go over the attack speed limit while still getting like 8% lifesteal, which is really nice. Combat, there's not a rune that isn't solid here. Most AD carries are probably going to take Cut Down. You might see champions like Darius taking Last Stand, if we're talking about bruisers, and then coup de grace. I don't know how to say it. I'm sorry, I'm not French. This is probably gonna be better for like assassins who run into the precision tree. That and Triumph are probably what you're gonna take. This is Executioner, but twice as strong. That's actually really solid. That's okay. So overall, I think precision is probably the second strongest tree. Domination's the strongest, flat out. You have Predator. Predator. I don't know where I stand on Predator. I don't like it personally, but it's got a lot of uses when you're trying to chase down an opponent. I see some people try to use it on Twisted Fate. Quinn with this is actually quite funny. She gets 2,000 movement speed with a fountain buff. Runs straight down the lane in 3 seconds flat. Dark Harvest is also pretty decent, but you know, when you're comparing both of them to Electrocute, it just doesn't really stack up. Electrocute's generally really strong. It's a lot of damage. I'm running Electrocute on like everything right now. Honestly, like unless you're playing a champion who level 1 cheeses you, I guess, with the Meteor or Airy, you're probably going to want to take Electrocute. It's too much damage to not pass up, especially on like anyone who's trying to win lane, be super aggressive, or even a lot of junglers. Next, we got the Malice runes. A Taste of Blood. Probably would take that on a lot of poke lanes. You're not going to be able to proc it too much on melee champions. I would not recommend. Sudden Impact. Sudden Impact is so good. You take that on your Lucians, you take that on your Zeds, your LeBlancs. That's a lot of extra damage. It's so much more than Cheap Shot. Cheap Shot is 12 to 30 bonus true damage if they're impaired. You might take this on like Ashe or Twisted Fate, but you're not going to be taking this on a lot of champions when you can take Sudden Impact. I could see Gnar using this once he gets a Frozen Mallet, but yeah, that's actually Gnar with Cheap Shot would probably be the best user of the rune. Tracking, Zombie Ward. When you take down a ward, you're gonna see that it'll raise another ward in its place. Overall, I don't think Zombie Ward's that good, especially because it's being compared to Eyeball Collection. But if you use like Drakthar or something, you're gonna be like proccing a lot of wards in the first place, so it might have use. Ghost Poro. I think it's cute. I don't think it's really good. Maybe if you're like running away from someone and you're getting followed, but that's about it. Eyeball Collection is where it's at though. You get 20 AP. You get 14 AD. Yeah, it looks like that, and then an extra 10 or 6, respectively, based on or once you max out stats. That's like 20 AD or 30 AP. That's not bad, especially when you're comparing it to like the ward collections. And now it's important to ward, but these ones are just really underwhelming. I wouldn't fuck with them. Genius Hunter, I have yet to see that be used. You might use it on like LeBlanc. 6 per bounty. Okay, so what is that? You get each time you get a takedown on each enemy champion. That's 40% active item CDR. You might use this on like LeBlanc or Fizz, but most of the time on LeBlanc I take Ravenous Hunter. It's like 15% healing once you max out. It's pretty strong. It's also synergistic with Gunblade because you're just getting a lot of healing back. Makes it incredibly hard for other squishy champions to duel you just because while you're also dealing insane damage to them, you're life stealing it back. I'd honestly run Ravenous Hunter over Ingenious Hunter. Relentless Hunter though, you might see on move speed oriented champions. You might run that on Twisted Fate. Uh, Overall though, like just because of electrocute and sudden impact, I think domination is probably the strongest tree. Sorcery itself, it's got good masteries, but some of them are just so gimmicky. If you've looked through them, like, what the hell am I gonna do with Gathering Storm or Water Walking? What am I gonna do with Absolute Focus? Nullifying Orb is just kind of there for like mostly for people who need that Hex Drinker or something. So maybe if you're like against Cinder or something. Ares a powerful Keystone though. That's for sure. Very very strong in supports. Lulu can easily do half your health at level 1 with a E auto attack. It's disgusting. Comet seems to be overshadowed by Electrocute. The one time I saw it run to really good effect was I was playing against uh, Linsanity. He was playing Rise. Start W and then just W them, and you always hit Arcane Comet. It's a good chunk of damage. It's pretty akin to what Victor was doing last season with the Q auto attack. Next you have Phase Rush. You're going to see this on Cassiopeia. Not much to say besides that. For the artifact tree though, you're almost always going to take Ultimate Hat if you spec into this. It's just too useful on too many mids, especially compared to these other summoners. You might take Nullifying Orb if you just want to survive against Cinder instead. It's like, what, 40 magic damage. It's level 6. It gains 30-ish. So 70 damage against Syndra's ult plus 10% AP. So 3 from your runes, I don't know. 75 damage is pretty, I guess when she barely bursts you, it's going to help you survive a lot of scenarios. But it's just too niche for those kind of situations. Maybe against LeBlanc as well. By the way, LeBlanc and Fizz are really busted this patch. Yeah, abuse them while you can. Mana Flow Band is not good. It's every 60 seconds, and it doesn't have any ways to be reduced. I mean, if they switched it to like 40 seconds or 30 seconds for the mana regen, it might be good. But right as it stands, it's not strong. And then, of course, I went over Ultimate Hat already. You get 15% cooldown reduction on your Ultimate. If you play Karma, this is your best friend right here. It's too strong to pass up. You get 15% Ultimate cooldown, like level 4, level 5. Alright, Excellence. If you're Twisted Fate, take this. If you're everyone else, take Transcendence. The 10% cooldown reduction is crucial. Twisted Fate doesn't have his move speed quints anymore, so of course you're gonna take Celerity to make up for that. Level 1, if you run boots, you get like 383 move speed, so it's still roughly the same. So yeah, you're getting like 4% instead of 4.5, so it's not really too much of a loss. Absolute Focus. Absolute Focus is really niche. You're hoping that you don't trade aggressively in lane, because once you get below 70% health, that's if they get one good poke on you, or you could trade continuously, you lose a huge advantage you have. I don't like continuous or absolute focus. I don't think it's that good. I think that like you're only ever gonna use it on Lux or Xerath or someone who shouldn't even be within auto attack range anyways. And then power is basically just Scorch. The extra damage is good early on. If you're playing like Kassadin, it's 35 extra damage level 3, level 4. And that's gonna be pretty useful. You're just gonna find that you do a lot more damage, especially with the corrupting potion. Since you only poke like once every 8 seconds at best, 6, something like that, you're gonna find that it's just a bunch of extra damage that another mage really can't compete with, because you have the magic reduction and they don't. Water Walking, 25 movement speed and some AP when you're in the river. No. No. Okay, let's put it this way. When you're on the Rift, you're going to see that the river is about one lane worth of size, and you're not gonna be in it like ever unless you're getting Dragon or Baron. You're gonna be spending so much more time at buffs, at towers, in lane, in your base. And because League is not a back and forth game, it is a one side pushes in and the other has to retaliate, and it slowly snowballs that way. It's as soon as you move from this back and forth, the river's no longer useful. Like you might use it to roam, but most of the time when you're roaming as like an assassin, you're gonna want to go into the enemy side, so closer to their red and their blue, and try to take their buffs or cheese them there, or maybe even roam into the tower. Or with a mage, you're probably gonna play more safely and try to hide away. And either way, you're just not gonna be utilizing the river enough to make it useful. Gathering Storm, though, ugh. Cool concept, bad application. You don't get enough stats for how long the game lasts. Like 30 minutes, 48 AP. If I'm level 18, that's another 40 right here. They're gimmicky. That's the best I could say. It's like I'm not waiting 30 minutes to get 50 AP. That's if you have a 2.0 ratio on your abilities. Let's say you have a 2.5. That's like 125 extra damage, 120. And at that point in the game, when you're doing like 900, 1,000, or 2,000, or 1,900 to 2,000 in a combo, that 100 might seem useful, but they're pretty much already dead as is. You'd probably get more benefit out of Scorch, like allowing you to win the early game. That's just it for me. Like the 30, 45 extra damage that you're gonna get while laning is too valuable not to pass up or not to take. All right, Resolve. Resolve is good for tank supports. I don't think it's good for solo tanks. Grasp with the Undying is still Grasp with the Undying, but no one ever took it before because it's like heal for 2% of your max health. If you're let's say you have 4,000 HP because you're a tank, 1% is like 40. You get an 80 heal, 80 HP heal right there. That's not strong. At best, mid game, that's like 1 or 2 80 carry auto attacks, but they're gonna start doing like 200, 250 to you, 300 at like lowest. So that it doesn't pay off. Aftershock, it's just a little extra damage for tanks. I've only seen it run once on Leona. And I mean, I guess it's good if you're trying to cheese them, if you're trying to basically do what Ignar did with Fervor Leona last patch. But yeah, what it's extra damage on a tank. You don't really if you're trying to tank, most of the time you want to be able to soak up damage rather than dish it. So it feels kind of counterintuitive to what most people like to do with tanks. Again, unless they're aggressive tanks. Guardian, it's got uses on Braum. That's about it. Like if you shield someone and either of you take damage, you gain an extra shield. Nice target you with spells. Oh, okay, so it might work on Tarek too. He hits you with Bastion, you might get an extra shield. That's nice, but yeah, I think that's nice. Strength, 15% tenacity, slow resistance after casting summer spell. Again, if you're like support, that's useful. If you're playing like Olaf or something with Ghost, I can see that being used as well. And you get 10% tenacity and slow resistance when you're when each spell is not on cooldown. That's the one thing I worry about though, because like if you're playing Olaf, you're going to want to make sure your ult's up every time. You're gonna want to make sure your ghost is up every time. So it might not be useful there. It might be useful for like trying to escape ganks where people are trying to slow and CC you down. But I don't know about that one. I don't know how I feel. Demolish, busted. Straight up busted. That's a lot of turret damage. 30% of your max health. Again, we're gonna use 4,000 health tank. What was that? Like, I think it's 1,200. 40 times 30. Yeah, it's 1,200 extra damage to a tower late game. And I mean, you have to stand in front of them for like 4 seconds, but 1,200 damage is so useful. I could see it being good when your AD carry's not there though. But like if they're there and you can zone off the enemy so that you can be within there for 4 seconds, you're probably gonna take the turret anyways. So what I'm trying to say is it's good, but I think it's overhyped. A lot of people are like, we have too many tower destruction moves in the game. Towers are like paper. Well, yeah, they're not wrong. I think they do overreact. Demolish is definitely strong, but it's not nearly as hyped up, or it's not nearly as good as it's hyped up to be. It's still busted though compared to these. Font of Life, it's Stoneborn Pact right there. You impair movement for 4 seconds, and it's like Stoneborn Pact with Ash and Ardent Sensor, that sort of thing. They heal for 5 plus 1% of your max health over 2 seconds. Might be useful on Taric. I think we're gonna see something like that run, or maybe Rylai's Morgana. What's the other thing they did? I could have sworn there was something else Morgana used to slow people down. Well, besides her root, I think they ran Rylai's on her W. Oh well. Resistance, I don't like resistance. Flat out, I don't think it's that good. I think that this is probably what makes Resolve one of the worst lines. It doesn't really benefit. Like, this is good for standalone tanks right here. But I think that it's weak overall because Riot is scared of creating another preseason with tank meta. Like, preseason 4. Yeah, preseason 4. Right after season 3, we had super buffed up defensive masteries, including like heal for 3% of your max health every 5 seconds or something ridiculous like that. And you had just Mundo, Shyvana, and eventually Nasus like every game. Season 6, we had Poppy. We don't talk about Poppy. We just don't. But yeah, I think they're scared of making tank masteries like standalone tanks good for that reason. And I don't think it's bad. I think that tanks, like standalone tanks, are a lot better than the support tanks that we had this in 7.18. Um, Standalone tanks, when they have a tank meta, they're good and they can be run in jungle as well as top, but it doesn't inhibit diversity as much as other um, other metas. With like for example, assassin meta back in season 3, if you weren't running something ultra roam competitive as a mid laner, you just didn't fare well. If as support you weren't playing Thresh or Janna, you just got killed over and over again by said roaming mid. And I think that, having a tank meta is okay because they're going to be slower. They're not going to be as quick to catch you. Like, if they do, they don't die, and that's a problem. But we can give them a little more leeway to being good. There's not much to say here. 5 armor, 5 magic resist. These are basically inverses of each other. Heals for at least 20 health and shields you for... Oh, if you heal for at least 20 health or from any source, you get 5% armor for 3 seconds. So I think if you're running like Mundo and you get enough regen after a certain period of time, this is always going to be turned on. And I think that might be useful. I think that the flat stats it gives you, though, should be turned up. I think it should probably be like 10 of each. And conditioning, after 10 minutes, gain 8 armor and 8 magic resist, increase both by 5%. That shouldn't be touched. That's just overall good. You see, these have conditions to being turned on. This needs you to heal at least 20 health every tick, and and that increases your magic resist by 5%. This is just have more armor and magic resist. This is probably going to be what you take over these two. Vitality. Probably going to take second wind. After taking damage from an enemy champion, heal for 4% of your missing health for 6 seconds. Or plus 6 over 10 seconds. If you're playing against a poke lane, especially top lane, this is going to be a godsend. This is going to be what helps you like stay in the game and be relevant mid game. I'd take this over the others, personally. Revitalize. This is going to be your support mastery. Heals and shields are 5% stronger. It increased by an additional 10% on targets below 40 health. If you play a shield or heal centric tank, though, you might like that. I just can't think of any at the time. Maybe Poppy. Poppy could use this. But the one problem with Poppy is if she's good, you're never going to get her below 60% health in the first place. So Overgrowth, permanently gain 2% max health for every 8 monsters. It looks good in theory. In practice, it just takes too long. Okay, so let's say calculator. How many minions are gonna die in front of you in a game? Let's say 500. 500 divided by 8. That's 62.5 procs of this. There's 2. This is 12.5% max health. That's gonna be your like absolute benefit, but it takes so long to scale up in the first place that you have to be in front of like 500 minions. That's gonna be 40 minutes of gameplay right there. I'd definitely take second win before that though, because like this is for scaling, and if you can't scale in a lane, especially a poke lane, you're gonna regret you have this. This is gonna be your lifeline right there, kind of like nullifying orb for like bad matchups mid. Overall, I think Resolve's I think all the trees are fairly solid. I think Resolve's the worst of them. Inspiration, though, I think that's middle of pact, and it's only because of Kleptomancy. It's basically a Sheen proc, but instead of extra damage, you get bonus gold. Is there a cooldown? No, there's no cooldown on it. That's ridiculous. There's also a chance you gain a consumable. I played a game with Ezreal last night, and because of Kleptomancy and Futures Market, I was 1,300 gold ahead of where I should be. Like that's a huge bonus. 1,300 gold. That's a Sheen, and that's in 20 minutes. If the game stalls out to 30 or 40 minutes, that's a full item. Like if 30 minutes, that's a full Guardian Angel. 40 minutes, that's a full Triforce or maybe Blade of the Rune King on them. That's a huge advantage right there. Don't get me wrong, by 40 minutes you should probably have all your items anyways, but you know while you're there, it just gets you to your late game so much faster. That's why Ezreal's so good right now. He power spikes so much faster than everyone else. Ezreal used to be where you needed to get to that power spike and you needed to play passively. Now it's like you almost bypass your weak point because it's like 2 or 3 minutes shorter. Unsealed Spellbook, super niche. I don't imagine it being any good. I saw a Blitzcrank run it, and I thought it was hilarious because he would go and he would cheese a red buff or blue buff, whatever the jungler was starting, and then smite it. And then he could switch out later to exhaust or something, but it's just... I can't see it being useful in many scenarios. Glacial Augment's good though. 7-second cooldown for a slow. You're going to see this run on a lot of champions who just need to be able to stick to you. Maybe your Xin Zhao's. You're going to see Gnar use it if he doesn't want to get Frozen Mallet. What was that one I said he could also use? I think it was Cheap Shot. Yeah, so you could run Domination, Cheap Shot with Glacial Augment, and you're just constantly going to be dealing true damage to them on a 7 to 4 second cooldown. That's a really nasty combo I could see being run on Gnar, but yeah, it's overall a useful spell. It's just overshadowed by Kleptomancy right now, just because of how much gold it grants you. Hex Tech Flash Traption. If you're like a really heavy ganker, maybe you're Vi and you want to sit outside the chickens and surprise dive them, it's good with your when you hit level 6 and you have your R, of course, but it's super niche. If you're running something in this tree, I would say Stopwatch is pretty solid if you're going to be getting one of the items later. Like, if you're a mid laner and you're against Zed and you need the Zanya's Hourglass, go for it. That's super easy right there. Stopwatch is basically trying to keep you from falling behind. That's nice in and of itself. And then for everyone else, you're probably going to be getting biscuits. So you heal 15% of your missing health and mana, and you get 40 more mana. Overall, that's really nice. You get a lot of good healing in there, sustain. Basically, it's saying, you know, for picking a tree that doesn't have any combat stats, we're gonna allow you to stick in lane more for longer, so you can farm up this gold from Futures Market and Klepto, and use that to possibly get you back in the game. Magical footwear sucks. Okay, if you're gonna be playing mid, especially, you're going to want to get tier 2 boots 11 minutes. You're going to want to get tier 1 boots probably on your first back. You back with like at level 6 7 minutes in, you have 1200 gold. You're going to want to get that lost chapter and you want to get those boots. If you're playing like TF, you're going to want to get the early CDR boots and then a catalyst afterward or a Doran's ring. You don't want magical footwear. The only cases, if you're going support, you want to rush that early Moby boots, like very early. Top, I can see it being useful. Jungle, no, I can see you getting boots early. Jungle probably wants boots early so that they can keep getting camps and power farming faster. The only class I could see this being useful on is ADC. That's because when you're in ADC, you're basically playing an arms race game where you want to make sure that you always have more AD than your opponent. Again, unless you're Ezreal. But so you might find having these boots extra useful. But on Ezreal, when I played him, I strongly prefer Futures Market. Uh, you can go into debt to buy items. You start with 150. Let's see, lending fee. I didn't even see the lending fee. Basically, you lose 50 gold every time you use it. That's not bad, especially if you're going like you can go 60, 70, or no, 160, 170 coins in debt like 4 minutes in. That's such a free tier right there. Like if you're playing Ezreal, especially, you get tier of the goddess at 3 minutes. If you're wondering why he's so strong now, it's because of the huge synergy between Kleptomancy, between getting these biscuits, and between getting Futures Market. It's very powerful for snowballing if you need to hit a power spike early on that's reliant on items. I'm probably going to end up using this on Victor as well because of the Hextech, or the MK1 Hex Core. You absolutely need that to compete in lane, and so this gives you a chance to get it at 4 or 5 minutes. Or if you're just not CSing well, you can get it on your first back at like 6 or 7 or 8 minutes, and it'll just make up for kind of lost minions. And beyond, you're just gonna want Cosmic Insight. It's 5% cooldown reduction on all parts of the game. If you're playing like a support who needs to engage, maybe you'll just early on, maybe you'll just want the 100 health. Minus 10% damage to champions and monsters for 10 minutes. It's basically for people who are laning and they want to like CC you rather than actually do damage. So again, I could only see this being useful on engaged supports. Maybe on Rakan, but if you have Xayah, you're going to want that W. So that W damage, so it might just not be as useful as it looks. And lastly, approach velocity. This is the support mastery on this this and Cosmic Insight. This you get 10% movement speed towards nearby ally champions that are movement impaired or enemy champions you impair. It just allows you to run faster. I've only seen it used on one champion so far, and that's Singed. It's a pretty good effect. I would definitely not recommend it though. Personal preference. There aren't a lot of move speed centric champions, and the ones that do, I just can't see them benefiting from this nearly as much as it looks like they might. You're definitely just going to want to run this. Cooldown reduction is way too useful. Alright, and last, let's just give these power rankings based on what I see. I think Domination is by far the strongest. I think next is Precision. Inspiration's next. Sorcery's fourth. And then last but not least is Resolve. Okay, it's kind of least. It's not that any of these trees are bad. It's just that in comparison to the others, I think that they could do some work on them. And I strongly suggest that look at them right now. Well, hope that helps. Later.